Hey, hey, I have been labeled the enemy from within, and I'm going to wear that badge of honor proudly. Today is January 19th, 2025. Let's do this.
Warning. Some viewers may find the following footage deeply disturbing. The following moments may contain explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Immediately after Joe Biden was inaugurated, the first thing he did as president was hold a candlelight ceremony for the 400,000 COVID victims at the National Mall. It was the first moment of compassion shown by the leader of the free world in the entire 10-month horror show. Then he took another Republican crashed economy and rebuilt it as the strongest in the world. He reworked the port system and ironed out the supply chain so we would feel the global inflation far less than the rest of the world. The stock market rode record highs, and violent crime and unemployment are at 50-year lows. Bidenomics was incredible success, but no one knows it because Nazi propaganda works. Make the lie big and repeat it. It was a coordinated effort between the GOP and right-wing media to bash Joe Biden 24/7, regardless of facts or truth. They called it a failure before it even started and never stopped. Every time he stuttered, misspoke, or was less than perfect, they jumped on him. Every little detail was ultra-magnified after being misrepresented and propagandized. Biden's low approval ratings were based on sabotage, disinformation, and ignorance. Congressional Republicans refused to cooperate in any way, unwilling to negotiate in good faith, and pushing a series of weaponized investigations against the president and his son Hunter that were not only unfounded, unproven bullshit, they were saturated with hypocrisy because the accusations dwarfed the actual corruption of Trump's first term and the obscene payoff to son-in-law and White House senior advisor Jared Kushner from Saudi Arabia Prince MBS. Alexander Smirnov, the highly credible witness touted by the Republican witch hunters James Comer and Jim Jordan, is currently in prison for being a Russian agent and lying to Congress. The worst of the worst was the Afghanistan withdrawal. After a suicide bomber killed 13 Marines, everyone was quick to line up behind Trump and blame Biden for the terror attack. No one ever mentioned the Doha Agreement. Have you ever heard of the Doha Agreement? Because the Doha Agreement should really be common fucking knowledge by now. On leap year 2020, Trump sent his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, to Doha, Qatar, to surrender Afghanistan to the Taliban. He completely cut the actual Afghan government out of the negotiations entirely. The deal freed 5,000 Taliban soldiers from Pakistani prisons while lowering our own troop level to 2,500 and promised to withdraw by March 2021, 6 months before Biden actually got to do it because there was never an actual plan to do it. And then he also invited the Taliban leaders to celebrate the 19th anniversary of 9/11 at Camp David. Come on and party, but fortunately, people with common sense intervened. By the time the Biden administration was able to withdraw, the country was a quagmire. The Taliban had a year and a half to run rampant and retake the land and claim our weapons, which became a huge talking point for the right-wingers at the time. It was a problem they created, so they'd have something to bitch about. We might as well send Admiral Akbar to handle it because it was a fucking trap the whole time. It never ended for the entire 4 years. Congress ignored the border except for going down there for photo ops and blamed Biden. Fox News provided 24/7 Biden border crisis coverage. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott bust the border crossers to cities across the country and blamed Biden. When the immigrants would finally reach their Republican-determined destinations, they'd bitch about the compassionate libtards that would give them food, clothes, and shelter so they don't fucking die. It's amazing how nothing offends a Republican like seeing poor people eating. But the Christian America I grew up in doesn't let people starve. After Biden was able to clean up the mess by himself, they continued to bitch and make up bullshit and phony crime wave hoax about the immigrants and eating stolen pets. And everything was just a bold-faced lie. They twisted fact-checking into censorship and snobbed everyone that didn't speak their delusional code. The country is divided into two completely separate informational universes, one based in facts, the other based in beliefs. And right now, beliefs are winning. I mean, the summer of 2024 was downright utopian compared to the summer of 2020. But somehow 77 million morons couldn't tell we were better off because of the persistent complaining about the inflation the world suffered 3 years ago or how bad the border was 2 years ago. After 2.5 months of dread and fear, tomorrow's Inauguration Day. The clown show officially becomes a shit show. After Joe Biden used his inauguration as a day of healing from COVID and domestic terrorism, by contrast, Donald Trump plans on pardoning 1,000 traitors and becoming the dictator he promised he'd be on day one. I know all of my predictions are just hyperbole until they happen, but what am I supposed to expect when people without ethics, morals, boundaries, or shame have been cramming unconstitutional extremist bullshit down my throat for the last 8 years? I wasn't wrong the first time. The most frustrating part of the first term, besides every day being an embarrassing new low, was that every day he proved me right. It was all about the corrupt grift of a con man. He can't complete a sentence without lying. His only accomplishment was a giant tax cut for the rich because that was all he cared about. And then after the tax cut happened, he went golfing and didn't want to be bothered. His friends and family, especially Jared and Ivanka, got filthy while the rest of us waited for ours to trickle down. It didn't. Supposedly it was supposed to, but we got hit by a once-in-a-century pandemic instead. And true to form, Trump scrapped the playbook, blamed the Democrats for creating a hoax, and ignored it until they closed his fucking country club. Then, when he couldn't play golf anymore, he used his daily updates to pitch irrelevant phony cures like ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. Over 100 Texans drank bleach that summer. Then after Dr. Fauci stepped in with the truth, they made up conspiracy theories about him and tried to blame the entire pandemic on him, refusing to wear masks or get vaccinated out of spite. 400,000 Americans died from COVID in Trump's last 10 months. Over 1 million before life returned to normal. Despite being only 3% of the world's population, we suffered 25% of the deaths. The economy crumbled, the stock market crashed, 14 million people lost their jobs. Congress passed a stimulus package to keep us going during the lockdown, and Trump's main concern was that his name be on the checks as a campaign ploy to make some morons believe that he actually gave us the money himself. It was our money. Then came the insurrection after he lost the election, and that was unforgivable. Treason, plain and simple. With the rules about aid and comfort and such, a lot of people became traitors that day, in a lot more sense. I was totally prepared to fight off coup part 2, but I never imagined that people would choose this. Now, as his second term begins, it's only logical to expect the worst. After all the crime, corruption, and COVID, the only lesson Trump learned is that some people just aren't loyal enough because they're too honest. After filling his cabinet with the largest donors the first time around, his second strategy is to use everyone he's seen on TV that's still loyal to the big lie. Loyalty is the one and only qualification that concerns him. And it all starts again tomorrow at noon. He couldn't stand the fact that the flags were at half-staff to observe Jimmy Carter's passing. So he whined and cried until they changed it. That's what he does. And he's a complete narcissist with no respect for anyone or anything else. But he's who you elected. So good luck with that. Thank you for watching. If you want to like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. I'll do this as much as I can. Thank you.